Hello and welcome to today's Wild Hearthstone deck tech and gameplay video on Giant Warlock. Giant Warlock basically wants to summon giant creatures, either actual giants like molten mountain or flesh giants, or other relatively large creatures like your imprisoned horror, which can be a sort of diet giant. Same thing with Gigafint and Mutanus. They can sort of play a diet giant sort of play, especially with the help of Sea Devil Stinger. And when we cheat said big creatures out onto the field ahead of the curve, we can use the new card Forge of Wills to effectively get even more stats, as well as sort of answer the board. And with those large amounts of stats just early on, we're hoping to translate that into some damage, and maybe with an occasional Battleground Battle Master, turn that into a absolute boatload of damage to our opponent's face. Besides that, we just have general, removal cards to help us not die in the interim. Anything from your Siphon Souls and Unstable Shadow Blast to other unique little, what's the word? I guess you can call them tech cards, like your Touch of the Nathrezim and Crystallizer, amongst many others, to sort of manipulate our game plan to do whatever we need to do to get our respective flesh giant, because you're usually working towards getting one of the giants out early on. With that out of the way, don't forget to like the video if you like it, subscribe if you like my grab bag of content and would like to see more in the future. And with that out of the way, we'll go on to game number 1. And game number 1 with our little Giant Warlock. What is that skin? Where does that come from? I mean, it's kind of cool. It's just interesting. Honestly, we don't have a giant in our hand, but we have the ability to sort of fight for the board early on and start to, how do I word this? We have the ability to fight for the board early on, as well as just sort of wait to see what sort of giant we draw, as I imagine our opponent will be some degree of aggressive, usually, but who knows. Go ahead and play Crystallizer on turn 1. Now, if I had, say, a mountain giant in my hand, I probably wouldn't play this, but right now we just are happy to have an okay controlling hand. What are they? That is a crazy... Okay. See what we're gonna get. Touch of the Nathrezim. I guess we'll go ahead and, since we don't have a mountain giant, we have more molten and flesh giants, so we're going to work on the lowering our health or manipulating our health total angle to summon those giants. With that in mind, we're just going to Unstable Blast and go face. It's one of those, not that much you can really hope to do otherwise. Another Hematurge, maybe some sort of like pure blood kind of thing, possibly. Forge of Wills is nice. Again, just go face. 1 second as I make sure everything's recording. I'm gonna turn this down just a smidge. My brain's sort of getting to me, because it's very loud in my ears. Flesh Giant's not bad. We'll go ahead and do a life tap here. The Battle Master is nice. Oh man, we're in a weird spot. If it dies, 3 health to your hero. You know what? We will go ahead and just double touch this card, our opponent's Death Metal Knight. I think I've ever seen that card actually played. Just go face. You could argue it's not the most efficient use of the removal spells, but again, we're just trying to sort of survive. And now that we've drawn a Flesh Giant, we're more worried about manipulating our health, either going up or down. That's going to be our initial game plan. What? Oh, okay. I guess he didn't get the... Okay, I mean, that's fine. What's our opponent trying to do? Other than, like, maybe do more Discover shenanigans. Another Forge is great when we initially get down that giant, which will be next turn. You can get giants out on, say, turn 4 or 5, but, I mean, turn 6, 8, 8, it's not that bad. As well as the, what, 24 with a stat we're going to summon on the board? The Forge of Wills does a really good job of lessening the impact of not really progressing the board early on, trying to get your various giants, by allowing you to do, like, absolute goofy plays like this. Where normally, before, in older, even older versions of Hearthstone, back when it first came out, which is when I used to play this game, before I recently came back, a turn like this, you would just summon the Flesh Giant and pass, then you didn't really do anything. But now we have the ability, with a card like Forge of Wills, to do a much better job at actually fighting for the board. And I know this is going to sound crazy, but I'm going to remove the smaller creatures here. Now, maybe he'll, like... or odds are he will use his Astalor and maybe a hero power, if not just proper removal. That's not going to do it. Why that? Okay. He probably will remove it. The question is, what will he remove? He did make the right call on what to do. Let's see here. 8 and 16. 16, 24. We're not quite there yet. We're getting there, but not there quite yet. I think, honestly, though, we can just afford... I might just run it out regardless here. I'm going to play the Battle Master here, so next turn when these come back online, assuming that I have another giant out, it should come into play once I activate the Forge of Wills to the left, if I understand how the interaction works. This is admittedly... this deck is probably the most thorough experience that I've had. Well, that's not great. With locations, so, like, there are still weird, like... what's the word? Like, growing pains associated with it. But unless he's got something, we got the kill. And just, you know, again, showing off. So my original thought of how the mechanic was going to work out, it would have summoned next to the Battlegrounds Battle Master. Oh, that's the rush one. So I would have gotten, you know, additional swings with that particularly rushed copy. But that was a pretty good showing of the game. You just want to do what you can to summon a massive board of admittedly kind of boring, just stats, significantly ahead of the curve, and just try and translate that into damage before they can catch up, or say sweep you, or do whatever their degenerate combo thing is, which does happen from time to time. Now with that out of the way, we'll go on to game number 2. And game number 2 with our little giant Warlock. Shaman isn't necessarily a tell of anything, so I think we're just going to throw back... the Sun Fury can go. We're going to keep the Unstable Shadow Blast in case it's some sort of, like, even totem shaman-y thing. A Sea Devil Stinger does sort of turn on... he kept his leftmost card. Does turn on, say, like, either the ability to Gigafin a big board if they are, like, something aggressive, or maybe eat something out of their hand with a Mutanus. Okay, so it's probably... well, okay, that's not true. I was going to say Mutanus could be really great if we hit their Shudderwalk, but that's not a guarantee. In the meantime, I guess we're just going to try and go down the manipulating our health route. A lovely use for the Blood Treant, which is normally an card. It is nice for both the Flesh and the Molten Giant, just to manipulate your health in various ways. I mean... oh, okay, that's... really that... alright, whatever, that's odd. But we'll take it. We'll go ahead and do a touch here and just go face. Doing pretty good here, all things considered. I don't think a Cold Light Oracle is what you want to do, friend. Because, yeah, you give me giants on... on, like, turn 4. Just for reference, because we've all had this moment, you can't coin out the Mountain Giant because you'll lose a card and you won't get the effect of the coin, which I've done, sadly. In the meantime, we might as well go ahead and do the... well, I can do the Librarian first. And then my hand total doesn't change. And then from there we can do a Shadow Blast. which should allow, because I'm at 6. We might have goofed that, actually. Did I goof that? I didn't think I did. Yeah, I fucked that up. I did, like, one thing more than I should have done. Wow, that's really stupid. Like, I'm real dumb. Wow. In that case, I'm so upset with myself. Go ahead and hero power. Try and recover from the biggest of blunders. Okay, so next turn we will be able to do this. Hang on, wait a second. Maybe we... Hang on. At 4, it'll go 5 for next turn. So I can Crystallizer, and then I just pass. And if my math is right, and I'm not the dumbest person alive, which is a fair possibility, granted, I make misplays all the time, I should be able to play the Mountain Giant next turn on 5. And we have an Imprisoned Horror, which is nice. So we're going to do the Giant first. Then we're going to do the Horror. I can then coin, do the Unstable Shadow Blast. Well, I think we will. We'll Shadow Blast the Street Sweeper. That way, since we had the armor to sort of lose, it was like a free attack. Or not a free attack, a free use. We can go ahead and hit through the taunt, though there is an argument to get rid of the taunt. I mean, that's fine. Yeah, because it didn't... Okay, so even if I had done the other thing and had used the bolt on the Revenant, he still would have been able to do the same play and trade into my board. So I'm feeling a little better about that. So now we're gonna Molten Giant. Probably gonna do a Fellstring Harp and go ahead and touch their Astalor and just go face. Admittedly, if you're a bad player like me and you like to like build goofy decks like I do, this deck is pretty forgiving because, I mean, you know, except in things like this, you will still pretty much no matter what you do get to like summon a big board of just, you know, dumb stats to go to your opponent's face, which is pretty forgiving. Takes damage. But that's not going to work how I think it's going to work, is it? If your hero takes damage, the cost isn't damage. So I think we're just gonna do the Mutanus. Maybe get a good hit. Although there's loads of weird, quote, bad hits. A Grumble is fantastic. That's awesome. We'll take that. Yeah, that's love. But now we're doing pretty good. Okay, that's not the greatest sign. Getting a buttload of armor. Yeah. On the bright side, though, that's not that bad. Thank you. I think we'll just go ahead and play the Son of Hodir and just go face. I imagine with our opponent's eventual Shutter Walks, there's just enough weird corner case battle cries that, like, something goofy will happen, or they'll go infinite or something, and eventually kill me with, like, what's the mosquito thingy that drains 3. One Amalgam Band. What? I mean, fine, because you still just die. Right? Why is that? I thought that, maybe somebody in the comments can explain to me, but as I understood the One Amalgam ban, as a person who does not own the card and has not played with the card in any way, I thought the effect was pinned to the type of creatures you've played. It's not like a random roll where it just sees you've played, like, say, 6 different creature types and it gives you 6 random effects. I thought that, like, you know, a Murloc gave X and Pirate gave Y and Elemental gave Z or whatever. But, you know, maybe I'm wrong. But anyway, that was also a pretty good showing. And again, like I talked about, it's pretty forgiving if you make misplays like I do all the time. Since this was a relatively short one, I think we can try and get one more game in. So we'll go on now to game number 3. And game number 3 with our little giant warlock. For the most part, unless you're going against like a Dane of the world or something like that, in my experience, most pirate rogues are like, or I'm sorry, most rogues are pirate rogues or some other aggressive style thing. So in that case, I think we're gonna go for more controlling tools and just hope to not die. As like a really like aggressive, like pretty fine-tuned sort of deck can get under this with like not great draws. But this is honestly pretty good. We have, you know, a couple removal spells and another one that also summons some taunts. And we'll just sort of wait to naturally draw whatever our first giant is and sort of work towards that. Having a battle master on the ground is great. I did not pay attention to what they like mulliganed, so they could be a quest and I wouldn't know. I was too busy trying to explain as I yawn. See what our opponent does. Coin. Pirate's Cannon. Okay, I mean, that doesn't really tell me anything other than you have spells and minions, which might be negative information. Alright, we have a mountain giant, so we're going to make that our first play. Our first, you know, go towards. I think I can either get this on turn 4 or turn 5. My gut wants to say turn 4, but that might be with a coin. I think it might be turn 5 is the earliest I can get a mountain giant if all I do is hero power and pass. No, it is 4. Okay, I was right. So yeah, once again, I really fucked that last game up. I mean, I still got the win, and I'll take them. Okay, so it's a King's Bane list. I do have, I mean, to be fair, I have my own update to my own version, which is probably going to be very similar to theirs, with, you know, maybe a card or two different, which will come later on. Once I like run out of the new cards I have to like do videos on, we'll go back to older archetypes that got updates from cards as opposed to like new archetypes altogether with also new cards. Now, play a big old scary mountain giant. A 4, you know, an 8/8 on turn 4, granted with no abilities, is, you know, it's okay. It's not bad. If you could just like legit play a 4-mana 8/8 with no downsides, you can probably see some play. Although, goddamn, that King's Bane is big. But we're in a good spot. What are we gonna do next turn, though? Tinker. God. Okay, so I think we're gonna. Do we play the Demonic Assault? I think I do. I think I'm going to play the Demonic Assault, getting rid of their little boy here. Because really, it's actually the taunts that I care more about. If I could find my Sun Fury Protectors as a way to give my Giants taunt, that would be great. God damn, maybe a Blade Flurry? Okay, it's fine. How much life is he at? I didn't actually pay attention. I might be able to kill him. Come on, opponent. Let me see what you're doing here. I need to see your life total. Okay, 8 would be 16. 16, 17, 18. 19. Not quite. Although, that'll help. Yeah, I think we're just going to do a Molten Giant here. Like a Prince Renathal as like a backup in case they happen to kill the giant. Probably just going to do a life tap. Hope we don't die. I don't think we need to go all out and do the Kobold Librarian. So I think we're okay. Because we've done about as good as this deck can hope. Or as hope... How do I... Let me walk this statement back. We've gotten ourselves in about as good a condition as we can against a pretty aggressive deck. Or when I say aggressive, I don't mean creature aggressive, but I mean, hell, it's turn 6 and his Kingsbane is 12 damage. Aggressive is in that, like, they're just a game plan that's aggressive and to hit us in the face. Okay, that's something. But what my original point was going to be, I now remembered, was that we've put ourselves in a position where we've done the right thing and then died, unfortunately. But we made our opponent be in a position to where they had to kill us or we were going to kill them. Admittedly, you know, our opponent had the nuts and did a really good job and just won, you know, fair and square. But I still maintain that it was the correct play because, again, if we didn't have a way to get through the taunts, really, we were going to play Battlegrounds Battlemaster and kill him if he didn't answer a board. So while it was a loss, it was still a very good game. And a pretty short video, but we take those. It's one of those, as a person whose time is limited, I got to get him in where I can. But anywho, with that out of the way, thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like the video if you like it, subscribe if you like my grab bag of content and would like to see more in the future. And if you have any sort of, you know, questions about, I don't have X, what about Y? As long as you really have, in my experience, the Flesh Giant, the Mountain Giant, and the Molten Giant, the rest of the list is a little more flexible in how you get there. But in reality, really, if I'm being genuine, you just need to have any 3 of the actual bona fide giant cards, maybe even 4 if you want to include the Son of Hodier, and the Forge of Souls, or whatever, the Forge of Wills, whatever the hell it's called. As long as you have those base cards, the rest of the list is not as set in stone and required. You can sort of play around with it depending on what your particular collection looks like. Now, finally, I will say goodbye and wish you all a great day. And remember, I'm pulling for you. We're all in this together.